Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Tuesday, January 20th, 2015. I am Dan Rubin. We are now 1 week away exactly from Ohio State telling the United States to shove it, and that was quite an enjoyable experience. Things have cooled down a little bit, getting hot on the recruiting trail, and of course you want to stick to the site all day with Bill Kurlick and Alex Gleitman all over the game. But today I think we're going to play another game. I'm going to give you a series of questions here, and they're predictions for next season. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11 questions here. I'll read the questions out, then I'll play some theme music. You guys can run and grab a pen, and then jot down your answers, and then you can compare them to mine. Or, don't forget there's a podcast. You can just push pause. Okay, question number 1. Who will be the starting quarterback at Ohio State next year? Who will be the Ohio State starting quarterback next year? Question 2. Who will be Ohio State's second leading rusher? Who will be Ohio State's second leading rusher? Who will be the starting right tackle? Darryl Baldwin will move on. Who will be the starting right tackle? Who will be the 2 starting receivers? Who will be the 2 starting receivers? Evan Spencer, Devin Smith, gone. Give me your 2 starters. Who will lead the team in receptions? Who will lead the team in receptions? Who will get the most snaps at defensive end opposite Joey Bosa? So we know Joey Bosa is coming back at 1 defensive end. We know Adolphus at 1 tackle. And then there's 1 tackle and 1 defensive end spot up in the air. Who do we think at the end of the year will have gotten the most snaps at defensive end? Okay, to that end, who will get the most snaps in the middle next to Adolphus? We lost Michael Bennett, obviously, big loss. Who do we think we can step in there and fill the void next to Michael Bennett? By the way, thank the good Lord that Adolphus is coming back. Who is your surprise All-American? Maybe a guy people aren't talking about right now that next year you think will be an All-American. Who will be the second best team in the Big Ten? Who will be the second best team in the Big Ten? And what player right now that nobody's talking about is going to have a really, really good chance to come out early next year and be a really high draft pick? What player that people aren't really talking about right now will have the chance to come out next year and be a really high draft pick? Just a hint, it's not Joey Bosa. We all know Joey Bosa is going to come out and be a high draft pick. It's not Ezekiel Elliott, so put your thinking caps on. All right, here comes your theme music. Either press pause, do what you got to do, run and get yourself a pen. Okay, let's start matching up our answers right now. First question was, who will be the starting quarterback next year? My answer, J.T. Barrett. The only concern I have is more about his ankle. I do think when they get back into practice, he'll be able to beat out Cardale Jones again. I'm forever indebted to Cardale Jones for what he did. But I also think if you look at the totality of things, I just think JT's a better fit for the offense. Obviously, that's not going to be a unanimous decision, and be thankful that it's not. Who will be the team's second leading rusher? Obviously, assuming Eazy-E will be the leading rusher. I think the obvious answer is the starting quarterback. However, I think this year may have spooked them a little bit, and I think the other backs will get the ball a little more, so I will go with Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel. Who will be the starting right tackle? Heard a lot of names. I know that there are a lot of people who want it to be Jamarco Jones. I think it's going to be Chase Ferris. My guess is Chase Ferris. Who will be the starting receivers? This is always kind of a tricky question because they platoon a lot, play three and such, but on the depth chart, I think it will be Michael Thomas and Corey Smith. Guy I would keep an eye on, Johnny Dixon. I have a feeling he's going to come back in real good shape next year after battling tendonitis and redshirting this year. Who will lead the team in receptions? This was a layup. I think it'll be Michael Thomas. Who will get the most snaps at defensive end opposite Joey Bosa? So we know that Steve Miller's gone and Joey Bosa's back. I don't know if it's going to be a position where they're going to insert someone in there and have them play the whole season. But at the end of the year, who will have taken the most snaps? This is kind of a hopeful pick. Jalen Holmes. He's the player, I believe, with the physical stature and gifts to take us to the next level and be a bookend werewolf with Joey Bosa. Just to that, who will get the most snaps next to Adolphus? Thank the Lord Adolphus is staying. Who will get the most snaps replacing Michael Bennett? I have to admit this is the question I had the least serious vibe on. I would not be surprised what happens here if players are moved around and such. But as of right now, I would have to go with Donovan Munger. I know that they liked him, and he's got the girth to kind of plug the middle there. So I would go with Donovan Munger. Surprise All-American, the player that people aren't talking about as much right now that I think will be an All-American next year. Von Bell, safety. I think he was on the verge of a breakout this year. Safety is one of those positions that I think you really gain some valuable experience being the back end after a couple years. And he has shown some supreme ball hawk tendencies. Next year is the year to me that he puts it all together and gets himself an All-American nod. Who will be the second best team in the Big Ten? I still think it's Michigan State. You can look around the conference and talk a little bit maybe about Wisconsin. You may think James Franklin's going to pull a rabbit out of a hat that early. But I really do think it's even with the loss of Pat Narduzzi to Pitt, I will go with Connor Cook, Mark D'Antonio, and Michigan State. And who's the player that right now will be a surprise to some that will be talking about of coming out next year? To me, when you break down the roster, it's actually going to be kind of obvious. Eli Apple. Number one, his name is Eli Apple, which is a very cool name. Secondly, he has these physical prototype for the modern corner. Long, rangy, fast, can tackle. Wasn't talked about too much this year because Duran Grant got a lot of the number one receiver responsibilities on the other side, i.e. Amari Cooper and the Sugar Bowl. But my prediction for the guy next year who at this time we're worrying about leaving early is Eli Apple. That is the show for you today. Be real cool if we could all get on the message board thread here and compare where our answers were different than others. Hopefully that was an interesting little fun exercise. Have a great day, Bucknutters. And just to remind you, Ohio State, national champions. And you thought the show was over. No, I'm going to leave you with a little something from Lou Holtz and Mark May that just made my heart feel a little bit warmer this morning. Enjoy.
There's a reason why the selection committee did not have them in the top four with J.T. Barrett. Because they weren't worthy enough to get there. Even though the Mississippi State lost, you would expect them to move up. But they have to get the top four teams. The best four teams in the country is their main objective. When you're looking at this team without their star quarterback, their playmaker on offense will be out. You cannot put them in the top four. They're not worthy. That's no disrespect to that football team, but they're not one of the best four teams in the country because they're missing their best player.
I can tell you're lying because your lips are moving. Why are you so much against Ohio State? Let me tell you, Mark, you stood here in the same place and argued, nobody from the Big Ten, it's over, it's done. Ohio State's no good, and here we are.
Outside. Your logic is flawed. Councilor May, you are guilty. You are guilty of premature evaluation. And because of that, at least at the moment, we got to.
There's a reason why he's riding the Pines. If he was good enough to play, he'd have been on the field.
He's not better than Barrett. Premature evaluation. The court rules in favor of Councilor Holtz. Do not forget to pay your fine.
Let me tell you what. This is the last final verdict of the season. I knew the fix was in.
Hey, don't go away, man. Just go away and stay away.